I think very important in terms of business life cycle and what to use, what kind of capital, right? If you have just incorporated, you don't have any revenue, you're setting up a team, it's typically, early on in your journey, no revenue, etc. You will not get, either bank debt or other forms of financing. So either you bootstrap, put in your own money as founders, or you raise equity early on, right? Angel rounds or whatever in the first rounds, accelerated, etc. Once you start generating certain revenue, right? Erstwhile, right? Like not story of today, but banks used to come in like 2-3 years after their incorporation, right? And then there was quite a long period where you were only dependent on equity financing as a founder or running it profitably, right? So that is where we started our business, right? And I think if you're a SaaS company generating $100,000 ARR, we started saying that, hey, you're a decent business, right? Not great scale. You cannot, just be left out, right? Like, and you can raise up to $50,000 subject to, your LTV to CACs and other metrics, etc. If you're a $500,000 business, a $500,000 ARR business, you get up to $250,000, right? So the money keeps on going with you as you grow, right? But that doesn't mean you don't need equity, right? You can't take that $250,000 today, if you're a 500,000 ARR business, and say, hey, I have cracked India. I think US is great, right? Like, I'll move to the US with this money, right? It'll be a very, very foolish decision, right? Like, to that extent, because you don't know what will happen in the US, right? Because always think, right? Like, as Dilip mentioned, whatever money you're giving, you have to give back. In what time period, right? So can you generate more money by using that capital that you've got into whatever expenditures in that time frame period? If you're very confident, then go for it. If you are not, then don't use that expense from that money, right? It's as simple as that. Like AWS cloud spends, right? Like, we fund a lot of cloud spends today, right? Like, majority of the SaaS companies, we simply say, because that is one of the major expenses, right? Salaries and cloud spends. Those are the two major expense items. Other than your CAC, where I'm assuming LTV to CAC is good, so that's more for growth. So cloud spends, your predictable salaries for CAC, right? And these are the two expenses that you should use your, debt and recur financing, things like that, right? Alternate forms of financing, which is non-equity, in the stage of the business. And always complement equity with other forms of financing, right? Don't say that I will take one or the other. It always has to be a complement between the two. What's the right mix? Depends on business to business. As Dilip says, debt to equity of 1, etc. So it could go up to that, but plan it accordingly. Also take in consideration the time it takes to raise a particular type of money, right? A lot of times we underestimate and say that, oh, I'll need equity in 6 months down the line. That's great. But typically it takes longer, right? Like, we are aware, for a lot of businesses, it takes around 9 to 12 months. So plan accordingly.